linked to the learning in deep concentration. And it is very important to understand that link also in terms of the intimate relation between concentration and wisdom. When one has concentration and wisdom, one can master the attention of the mind. When one masters the attention of the mind, one can master the mind and its feelings. So, the traditional training some of you now are undergoing this training. The traditional training in the kasinas are in 8 kasinas. But actually there are 10 kasinas in the tradition. But for attaining the supernatural powers as described in the Visuddhimagga, the 8 kasinas are used. So there are 4 color kasinas. There is earth, water, fire and wind kasina. And there is a limited space and light kasina. These are the 10 kasinas used traditionally for mastering the attention of the mind, making the object small or big in accordance with one wish. Then connected this with training in 8 liberations and 8 spheres of overcoming. Then mastery of enlarging the object, making the object little, paying attention to beautiful object or to ugly object in accordance with one's wish. So these are very important trainings for mastering attention. When one undergoes these trainings, the mind becomes very pliable. And capable of all kinds of feasts. Like jumping from the first dhyana into the third dhyana or even higher. And then developing the mind flexible enough to be able to learn supernatural powers. What is the difference between the mind using dhyana normally and the mind using dhyana together with supernatural powers? You should be very clear about it. The mind in dhyana is bound to the object of contemplation. It cannot move away from that object. the mind in dhyana with supernatural powers can move without losing the power of concentration from one object to another. So whatever you study with such mind will appear with utmost clarity. So the training in these kasinas, all these kasinas, they lead to the fourth dhyana. And they can be used for training in the supernatural powers. Besides, they are also used for surpassing the realm of subtle forms to the realm of formlessness. In order to enter the realm of perception, which is connected with formless objects, one has to extend the object of the kasina then develop disenchantment, disgust with all that has forms, and then use the space in the kasina in order to enter the contemplation of the formless space, of the boundless space. So the mind will transcend the perception where there is distinction of forms. It retains the same quality like the mind of the fourth dhyana. That means the purified equanimity. But in contrast to the fourth dhyana, it is freed from jnanata sanya. It is freed from the perception of difference in terms of differentiation. In the formless sphere, there is no differentiation. So the mind becomes extremely subtle. So the one-pointedness of the mind can become perfected due to this quality of non-distinction. When one has attained the sphere of boundless space, then the rest of the training is very easy, just like attaining the first dhyana is not easy for most of us. The attaining of the second, third, usually even the fourth is not difficult. Similarly, the attainment of the other formless perceptions is not difficult, but the mastery in these perceptions is indeed very difficult, just like mastery in the dhyanas, lower dhyanas. So once one has attained the perception of boundless space, when one contemplates, turns attention to the mind, contemplating the boundless space, one will enter the sphere of perception of boundless mind. When the object is boundless, the mind becomes boundless. When the object is limited, the mind becomes limited. So this experience is quite conducive to some wisdom. At that sphere of perception, the mind still becomes more subtle. If at this sphere of perception one recollects the sphere of boundless space, and concentrates on the concept of absence of that space, then one will enter the sphere of nothingness. Then again, just contemplating the mind, contemplating the sphere of nothingness, one will attain the most subtle possible perception, that is, which is called neither perception nor non-perception. That neither perception nor non-perception is the, so to say, the end of the world. In the sense, the world is what is perceived, and the more subtle object cannot be perceived. The still more subtle object than that is the object of liberation. Because it's so subtle, so much confusion about it. The subtle object can only be contemplated by subtle mind. This kind of understanding is what you should get by your training in attainment and mastery of the dhyanas. No subtle object without the subtle mind. The object of liberation being the most subtle, and in a way no object as such, necessitates a very, very subtle state of mind and subtle state of training. So, we have summarized the formless absorptions. Usually, when one has formless absorptions, one then trains in 8 liberations and 8 spheres of overcoming. The 8 liberations are that one, it is common in all Buddhist traditions. That is why the training in kasina usually comes, also in Northern and Southern Buddhism, comes after training in meditation on the breath. The Chinese meditation on the breath, where the whole breath in the upper part of the body becomes the object, is in a way more subtle and more suitable for practicing these kasinas based on the different bodily parts. And for understanding the pranic energies in the body. But anyway, the first liberation is the being perceiving inside one perceives the outer forms. How is it? One takes the preliminary object inside the body and goes into attainment outside the body. If one practices the second liberation, one takes the object directly outside the body. If one practices a third liberation, one pays attention to the beautiful objects and make the mind completely saturated by the beauty, such as a lotus flower or such as love. Then the other 4 are the 4 formless liberations. And the last one is the samadhi of neither perception nor feeling. This is the most subtle of the traditional samadhis taught. And it presupposes a mastery of Vipassana. It cannot be practiced by anyone except those who have attained at least the stage of third realization in Vipassana. or by arahats, or by the very advanced bodhisattvas who have attained the higher stages of bodhisattva training. In this samadhi, free from feeling and perceptions, the object is the object of liberation, nirvana, and the subject is also subject, is nothing but the nirvana. So the difference between subject and object is completely annihilated. One who has this experience, he has then a very, very deep understanding of Buddhism. It is the samadhi of the wise. And among the Buddha's disciples, the Sariputta, the first disciple in wisdom, was especially known for the practice of the samadhi. It is said in the commentaries that Venerable Sariputta, when he went on his begging round, he would never accept food from the givers unless he entered into that samadhi, even for just few seconds. When you master samadhi, you can enter into any samadhi for 1 second or for 1 day or for more days. Venerable Subhuti, who was especially master of the Arana Samadhi, of the non-conflicting Samadhi, he would never accept food without entering the metta meditate Samadhi. Then he accepted food from. So these samadhis are specially praised in the Buddhist traditions as the most wholesome, giving benefits which are the deepest. So that much for today. We have summarized at least the most important aspects. We will then continue tomorrow, summarizing just what is left, just little bit, and then we will start talking about the aspects of particular to the bodhisattva training. So that much for today.